in. I am Akisa Wandera. Our sign language interpreter is Lensa Owino. Now, families of 11 of the 12 people killed in the terror attack in Mandera on Monday night are at the moment in Chiromo mortuary to identify their kin following the terror attack. The bodies of the victims were flown in last evening following the dawn attack. The suspected Shabaab attackers blew up part of a guest house in Mandera town using grenades and improvised explosives. Let's head over to Chiromo mortuary, where we understand a press conference is being delivered there by members of the Red Cross, and listening.
The ones that were injured, we received them last night. They've been hospitalized at Jomo Kenyatta. No, not Jomo Kenyatta, but the Kenyatta National Hospital. So they are doing well. They are out of danger. And I've said they are nine in number, and they are doing well. And all of them are out of danger. Thank you.
Regarding the bodies of those killed in Mandera, families of 11 of the 12 killed assembled at the Chiromo mortuary to identify the bodies of their kin. And of course, we also have information on those that were injured who were admitted at Kenyatta National Hospital. Our reporter Timothy Otieno is on that beat and will definitely be bringing us more information about this particular situation. The second day as families continue to mourn the lives of their kin who died in Mandera at 3:30 a.m. Tuesday morning when the Al-Shabaab militia blew up a part of a guest house. And remember, two of those who were killed in that particular attack were actors who were traveling in a group there to go and present set book plays to schools in Mandera County. Two of them were seriously injured. According to the leader of their group, they were flown in last night, and definitely we will be bringing you more information about how they're recuperating in a hospital and the process of identifying bodies. And of course, let's now link up with our reporter Timothy Otieno from Chiromo mortuary for him to just give us more information about what is happening on the ground. Good afternoon, Tim. Thank you for joining us. What is the latest from Chiromo?
Well, thank you, Akisa. We have just been speaking to a representative from the National Disaster Management Unit who tells us that so far just 3 bodies have positively been identified by the various family and friends of those who came here this morning out of the 11 that were brought into Nairobi since yesterday. That information just coming to us just briefly a few minutes ago from members of the National Disaster Management Unit that we can confirm that so far only 3 bodies have been identified. But of course, we have been informed that 3 other families have since arrived at this vicinity to see if they can positively identify their kin. So 3 more families have since arrived in this area. But of course, as you can imagine, the mood that was here for all those who came to identify their loved ones was that of a somber mood. There was a lot of crying and of course, a lot of questions coming out from the family members who want answers as to what really happened and why the government is not doing enough to safeguard its citizens, especially those who reside and work in Mandera town. Of course, Mandera is a place that has been rocked by a series of attacks just this past month. This is the 3rd one that has claimed the lives of 12 individuals. 11 were brought here. 1 has since been buried. And the family members, of course, have since arrived to this area. They have been going through psychosocial support and counseling before they were allowed to view the bodies. 2 of those who were identified earlier on in the morning came from a group of thespians who had gone to Mandera County to act out plays of set books. just 18 years old, Lisa Achieng, identified as an 18-year-old girl, and her colleague Kennedy, who is just 19 years old. So you can imagine those are young lives that have just been cut short. We were speaking to some of their colleagues who are thespians, some of who have survived the attack, some of who did not go for that particular trip. Of course, they're expressing concern in regards to what needs to be done, raising issues of security. But as it stands, just 3 bodies have been identified. 3 other families to my right have since arrived. They have first to go through the psychosocial therapy and counseling before the Kenya Red Cross can allow them to go in so that they can positively identify the bodies of their loved ones, after which they will be writing statements in regards to the same before the next step of action. That is, of course, the post-mortem, and if the bodies will be released to the families later on for burial. Akisa.
Timothy, I don't know whether you've been able to speak to family members of those who died in Mandera. What are they saying?
Well, as you can imagine, they are a very angry lot, a very sad lot at the same time. Most of them really expressed concern on what adds to beefing up security within that particular county. These are lives indeed that were lost for no apparent reason. And some of the family members that we are speaking to, we actually managed to speak to Lisa's father. I remember Lisa is the 18-year-old who died. She was a thespian who went to perform in Mandera County. His dad was asking questions in regards to how come there was not a rescue operation that was swift enough, as it is emerging that the attack took place at about 2 a.m. in the morning, and of course the bodies and the police arrived at that apartment complex just about 5 a.m., 6 a.m. in the morning. So that was like about 2-3 hour window in which those residents there were left vulnerable, and of course he was demanding answers in regards to why a swift operation did not take place. But of course he was raising concern that the thespians, in his daughter included, had been raising concern in regards to the security situation, and they had been reassured there by the security apparatus in Mandera that indeed the county was safe. As far back as Friday, I was talking to one of them who said that on Friday they had spoken to some of those who went there, and they had raised concern, and they said that on Friday the security apparatus there indeed confirmed to them that it was safe and that there was no cause for concern. Remember, the thespians had been in Mandera for 2 weeks performing in various secondary schools, and this was actually I think day 12 when the attack took place, and during that time period they had raised concern and they had been reassured that indeed safety was there. So the questions as to what went wrong is basically what the family is asking at the moment. Akisa.
Timothy, thank you very much for giving us that update. That is our reporter, Timothy Otieno, joining us from Chiromo mortuary, where he says 3 bodies have so far been positively identified. The process continues, and definitely he will be keeping us up to speed in our subsequent bulletins. Now to Nyeri, where a village in Kieni constituency is in mourning following the deaths in Mandera. Close to 40 people from the area have fallen victims of attacks in Mandera and are today counting more deaths. We now link up with our reporter in Nyeri County, Carol Ndere in Kieni, for more details on that. Good afternoon, Carol. Thank you very much for joining us here on NewsDesk. Terror attack after terror attack, members from residents from Kieni constituency have been affected. It must be quite a mood there right now.
Good afternoon. It is indeed a sad state of affairs also here in Chaka in Kieni constituency. They're saying that 6 of the 12 who perished in the Mandera attack hail from this particular part of the country. And why particularly in a somber mood is because this is not really the first time that residents of Chaka here in Kieni, Nyeri are affected by the attacks in Mandera. And this is the reason why. Most of them are quarry workers, but particularly they prefer to go to Mandera because of greener pastures. They get better pay in Mandera. For example, for 1 foot of stones, they get 15 shillings here in Chaka. But they're saying that in Mandera, they get about 40 shillings. That's quite a huge margin. And that is why, despite the previous attacks, most of them still continue going to Mandera. And they do insist that every Kenyan has a right to work in any part of the country, and they will not really be discouraged by that. So they keep going to Mandera. And so far, more than 40 people from Chaka, young men and women, have been caught up in the attacks in Mandera, either orchestrated by the Shabaab militia or otherwise, but more than 40 people. And these 40 do not even include those who perished in the Garissa University attack. The 40 are of previous quarry incidents. It started with 2 teachers in Chaka, or rather they were teaching in Mandera from Chaka, and subsequently there were others from this part of the country who lost their lives in Mandera. And joining us is Richard Waithaka, a youth leader from Chaka here in Kieni constituency, to talk about the situation of the migration of young men and women moving from Chaka to Mandera. Why is this? And maybe Richard Waithaka, thank you for joining us on KTN News. Maybe you could start us off by telling us of the previous attacks. The sons and daughters of Chaka are in mourning.
Thank you so much. We have lost several people in the last Mandera attacks. Now this is the 5th consecutive attacks from people from this area. It's a very sad situation, Caro, and we have seen the pain is quite unbearable. The first attack we had, 2 of them were teachers. They had gone there to look for green pastures. And the second attack, we had men working in the quarries who, that time there were about 18 of them from this area. We had another 11 in December. And last 2 months, we had 2 of them who also met their untimely death as a result of that attack. Last night, just 1 day ago, we are told, or we have confirmed, 6 of them. We have visited the families. 6 of them from this area have also lost their lives.
Very sad seeing that so many people from this area in Chaka have lost their lives in Mandera. But what really makes them go to Mandera, because there are also quarries here in Kieni and there are quarries in Mandera, why do they prefer to go? Maybe if you can break it down for us in terms of also prices and what needs to be done then for the quarry workers in Kieni to also benefit from their work, because if they do go to Mandera, it's because there's better money there.
Caro, the cost of extracting 1 foot of stone here is about 15 shillings. Similarly, that is divided among us 3 or 4 people. The same foot of stone in Mandera is about 40. And in the situation in Mandera is that stones are easy to cut and also to extract. Here, the stones are buried by quite voluminous layers of soil, and therefore even to extract these stones is quite a lot of work. Therefore, making sure that the cost of production is very high, and therefore the business people involved in the quarrying business, they have no option but to pay people menially or little pay.
Okay. As a youth leader, have there been attempts to appeal to perhaps the legislator of this region, the leaders in Nyeri County, right from the helm of leadership, that is the governor? Have there been any concerted efforts to improve lives for the quarry workers here in Chaka mines?
It is quite unfortunate about the situation which has been, in the last 2 years, there has been those attacks. We have had promises from our leaders that they could engage government into trying to solve this problem once and for all. Unfortunately, Caro, I can say this without fear of contradiction, is that no sooner that we bury these people than that problem is forgotten. We have not seen deliberate efforts in trying to increase the wages for these people or trying to ensure that the cost of production of these stones has been reduced despite this cry from these miners.
What then is your message to the leaders, and not just on a local level, but right from the security organs? Because insecurity is really thorn in the flesh for Kenyans. It's a menace. Losing lives at this rate is really rather saddening. So as a son of Kieni, as a son of Chaka, as a Kenyan, what message do you have for even those charged with ensuring that the security of Kenyans is up to top notch?
Caro, I think one message is there for all of us, that we need to ensure that every Kenyan, wherever they go, they are safe and they can be able to work and earn a living from wherever they are, because this is a diverse country and we cannot just issue ultimatums and say our people not go to Mandera. We have to think beyond the box and find out what are these social challenges that makes it difficult for the residents of Mandera not be able to accommodate our brothers. Nonetheless, our leaders should also actually pull up their socks and address the issues that they are, because the issue of insecurity is a thorn in the flesh, as we can say, and we cannot just say that this has come out of the, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Richard Waithaka, a youth leader from Chaka, Kieni constituency, Nyeri County, where so far since last year from the first attack, they have lost more than 40 people, most of them quarry workers who had gone to Mandera to seek greener pastures. Per foot of stones here, they get about 15 shillings thereabout, but in Mandera 40 shillings. And they have been asking the local leaders to improve conditions for the quarry workers. And as rightly they say, Kenyans have a right to work everywhere, but then because there are quarries here, if the conditions were improved for them, then there'd not be a need for such intense migration. And also asking the leaders on a national scale to ensure that security for every Kenyan is guaranteed. 6 of the 12 victims of the Mandera attack hail from Chaka, and here from Nyeri County will continue bringing you up to speed. We've already spoken to some of the family members who are left behind as others went to Nairobi to identify the bodies. We got a chance to speak to some of those who remained. We are from visiting a couple of homes in this region, Gatei quarries that are here. Most of them hail from Gatei quarries in Chaka. We've spoken to them, and we'll be compiling a story and a report much later for you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. That is our senior reporter, Carol Nderi, joining us from Nyeri County.